What's good, everybody? Y'all know what it is. It's Beat That Team Up North week. Happy Thanksgiving to all listening to this on Thanksgiving. Um, I'm excited as I always am, but I'm also nervous as I always am. I'm just gonna get right into it. Listen, I grew up experiencing the '90s, the Cooper era of Ohio State football. So there's always going to be um, an anxiety that creeps up in me during this week. No matter how good we are, no matter how skewed the matchup may be, how highly we're ranked, it doesn't matter. I'm always going to have some anxiety because of the constant horrors of the '90s era, losing to lesser scum teams. No matter the talent, whatever. So this week so far, I started off feeling very confident. And then, like normal, as the week has gone on, I've been kind of back and forth, a little nervous, listening to a bunch of a breakdown and analysis from others and just kind of going back and forth and whatnot. But now I'm kind of back to getting confident again, and I'm pushing back that anxiety just based off of just the numbers, the facts, to everything that I know to be true about not only this rivalry, but about this specific matchup with these two teams. So, so I'm wondering how many of y'all feel the same way I do, man. Like, I know there's some younger cats who be looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, what are you talking about? We're gonna beat them. Like, they're not on our level, whatever, because they're 20 something and they're not used to the losing. All they know is dominance. But when you've lived through the Cooper era, you know what I mean? It's just like you can never leave anything to chance or just, be too confident sometimes. So it is what it is, man. Some of y'all out there can definitely feel me where I'm coming from. But with that said, let's just get into it, man. I listened to I just went through on a rabbit hole in YouTube and just listened to every breakdown analysis you can think of. From scum fans to Ohio State fans to national media, and just kind of got an array of different perspectives. I listened to the Michigan podcast with Steve Diaz, which is very entertaining. So I kind of start out with that because what he said was sort of a recurring theme that I noticed, and it really left me scratching my head. And Steve pointed out that we have the personnel, if not better than Oregon, to execute what they did against Ohio State. So why wouldn't that work? And comparing the Penn State Nebraska games, but mainly pointed out the Oregon game. And then as I was listening to other breakdowns, there was similar things, like, hey, well, they did it and we're better, so why can't we do it, even better and beat them like Oregon did? And I pointed out in a post earlier that I did earlier today, and I posted like a Morpheus meme, and with a Buckeye hat on it said, "What if I told you that this Ohio State team is not the same team that lost to Oregon?" I mean, it just kind of baffled me that people, especially on the Team Up North side, were bringing that up as sort of a data point onto why they feel like this is a good matchup. It's like going back to 2014 in Week 12, trying to point to Virginia Tech. After weeks and weeks and weeks of adjustments from Tom Herman and Urban Meyer and personnel improvement and better execution and growth in players, teams get better and they learn from those things. So obviously the whole country knows that we made some significant changes on the defensive side of the ball after that Oregon game. So you couple that with personnel, taking out the hockey line substitution that they had also little by little, and players starting to, get their legs under them and play better and whatnot. Like, this is not the same team that lost to Oregon. I highly doubt Crack Replace is going to be, Legend Cavazos is not going to be out there against scum in the first quarter. And no knock it on him. He's going to be a really good player, I think. But I'm just saying, we played a lot of young players out there against Oregon who made some basic mistakes that shouldn't have been made. So anyway, I thought that was quite ridiculous. But also the other recurring thing I'm hearing from scum fans and their analysts are basically saying, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to run a zone and we're going to let Hutchinson and Ojabo just go after him, pin their ears back, and get after C.J. Stroud and keep all the receivers in front of them. And that sounds cool. I mean, but there's a couple issues with that. Is that first of all, our O-line is really, really good. The Ohio State offensive line is really good, right? Especially in pass pro. So it's just funny because I remember in 2018 when the whole talk was about Winovich and their D line and being able to, wreak havoc, and they got stuffed. They did nothing. But I digress. The point is that we're going to see how good Hutchinson and Ojabo are against what I think and others who aren't Buckeye fans think is the best offensive line in the country, especially in pass pro. So you got that right there. So, and don't forget Ryan Day, the dude is a smart dude, especially in big games, so don't think he's not going to have a plan for these boys. He had a plan for Purdue's Galifianakis. I can't remember how you pronounce his name, but good player, but he was completely shut out. So, and the other thing is not just neutralizing Hutchinson and Ojabo with heavy sets and bringing in tight ends and to chip and running backs to chip and just a heavy look, which we are very effective with play action out of and throwing to the tight end and even just running the ball. I love that package actually, and I'm hoping I see it. But not only do you have that, but okay, keep the wide receivers in front of you in the zone. The problem is our wide receivers can make you miss. All three of them can make you miss. And a 5-yard slant can go for 20, 25. So it sounds good in theory, but we'll see. We'll see. I am curious to see what game plan we come out with offensively against whatever defense they show. But I can see them definitely running some type of zone schemes and blitzing out of the zone, or maybe showing man and then dropping into zone. They're going to try to confuse C.J. Stroud. But he's seen that this year. He's seen those looks this year. So I'm very curious. But anyway, I'm kind of just flowing off the top of the head, y'all. I got like a little agenda and stuff like that, in my notes and trying to stay organized. But listen, man, I'm just flowing with it. But let's talk about the Team Up North offense for a little bit. I went back and watched the Maryland game that they just played and was checking that out. And I know, Scum fans are going to say, well, that was a little bit of a vanilla game plan. And I would agree to an extent, but they were still doing things they've been doing all year. They pull a million guards when they run the ball off tackle and on the edge. They're still going to try to play action you. They threw a lot of slants, and picked up some yards that way. Listen, it's not rocket science what they're doing. It's a heavy run attack. They're daring you they're going to try to out tough you, out physical you with their big old linemen. Like I said, they love to pull offensive linemen and run Haskins behind that, and just basically get to a 3rd and short situation, and then pick up that first down and keep the chains moving and control the clock. They're going to try to do that. But I really like how what we showed last week against Michigan State, where they have a physical run attack. I mean, you can say Michigan's is better, but they had the number one rushing. The number one rusher in the country before that game. I mean, they ran the ball down Michigan's throat when they played. Sparty did. So they were a formidable rushing attack, is my point. And before that, it was pretty arguable that Ohio State had not seen a rushing attack like that, especially with more of a pro style look. So and our guys stood up and really stoned that running game. So anyway, with that said, that was good to see that we are definitely up for the task physically, and we have the personnel, we have the depth at D tackle and especially at D end, to stand up against that Michigan running attack. And I've seen other teams do well against, don't forget, this Michigan team was up against the ropes against Rutgers. All right. In the fourth quarter, we've seen them get stoned with their game plan. So with that said, defensively, what they're going to try to do, they're going to try to attack us with Eric All, their tight end. They're going to try to get him up the seam. They're going to try to isolate him and get some matchups with him. I did see Donovan Edwards, which is weird to me that they would actually do that on film the week before the game, something they haven't done all year, that they would pull that out instead of waiting until the game to pull that out, because he was very effective. Donovan Edwards, we recruited him. We would have accepted his commitment. He's dragged his feet, and Travion Henderson pulled the trigger without visiting Ohio State. And I'm glad he did, because I would rather have Travion Henderson, but Edwards is a really good back. But he looked really good out of the backfield at receiver, and even motioning out sometimes at receiver. So he was really good. Good talent, but best believe it's on film, and we're going to have a plan for that. You'll see more Craig Young out there, the hybrid player, really long, rangy, good speed, a little bigger, more physical than Hickman, but Hickman will be out there as well, depending on what packages at the same time. But Craig Young is going to play a lot to match up with those running back wheel routes and the tight ends and the different things they're going to try to do underneath to exploit the holes that we've had in our defense, especially in the zone throughout the season. So we're gonna be prepared for that. But McNamara's comments, I want to kind of talk about that. I know people are saying that we're overblown and stuff like that, and they probably, it wasn't like a big deal of what he said, but it was still, my thing is this: you have been losing this game for 2 decades, okay? I don't count 2011, Luke Fickell, I don't count Tackgate, okay? You've been losing this game for a long time, and you've still been talking all these years, revenge tour and just everything. So you have zero margin, like, for error. Like, why would you even, if look, first of all, on the flip side, you don't hear Ohio State players in the press conference, in the media, when asked questions, talking, trash. Some people try to say, well, they stepped on a jersey in the whack. That's a tradition. That's what they do. They do that literally every year. It's been it's more recent, but they've been doing it. They did it last year too. It's something they do to start the rivalry week. It's a tradition that they do in-house. That's different from answering a question saying you're not concerned about, the defense. You don't say nothing like that. Remember basic defense with Oklahoma, when Ohio State played Oklahoma? Basic defense, people played that down too. Oh, that's not that big of a deal. But you see, we were obsessed with that quote, and we played with our hair on fire, and we had a big sign afterwards that said basic defense. So the point is, scum, players, coaches, you don't give Ohio State anything. We're already like rabid dogs, like, this whole entire week and throughout the year to come and eat you up, and you just add more fuel to the fire. The point is, keep your mouth shut. Don't say nothing but, hey, you know what? They're a great team, and, we're going to go out and play our best to win this game. That's it. Don't say nothing else. But on the flip side, I kind of want you to say something else, because it just makes it even worse. So keep talking. But anyway, so with McNamara, like, our defensive line, there's a couple players that haven't been talked about enough by Buckeye Nation lately, and especially this weekend when talking about this rivalry. But Tyreek Smith has been playing very well. He didn't play that well at the beginning of the season. He was a little nicked up. He, missed a couple games, but he's starting to come on now at the right time. He's not getting enough love, but he's been playing with his hair on fire, as well as the entire defensive line. Haskell Garrett, Zach Harrison batting balls, getting pressure. The D-line is playing really well. Our front seven played really well, with Chambers now starting, which should have been happening. And Eichenberg had his best game. The matchup, this power run game matchup, is a better matchup for our defense than a spread attack is. Let's just be honest. It is. And I think I was waiting for that, because I kind of knew that based off our personnel, but we saw it on display last week against Sparty. So, what McNamara saying he's not concerned, that's cool. But you got some dogs that's going to be breathing down your throat. And we'll see how good you'll be able to execute the pass game when you're going to have to pass. I know you lit up Sparty. We all know Sparty's secondary is trash, but their front seven, yes, they're good at stopping the run, but Ohio State has a better pass rush. Ohio State has better athletes than Sparty does, and will get after you, and better D tackles. So that's going to be interesting to see. But let me see what else I got here. I want to touch on with y'all, man. I might go live. I might go live tomorrow too, because I want to talk to y'all real time and get y'all's thoughts on this. Matter of fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go live tomorrow. Yeah. So the other thing is Ryan Day. I just want to get back to Ryan Day, man. The dude, like I know I mentioned earlier that this team is not the same team that lost to Oregon. And I was talking to some buddies of mine who are very football knowledgeable, and we were just discussing how the team has changed schematically and play calling wise and execution wise. I would even argue that the Purdue and Sparty games were different than the Penn State and Nebraska games. Just as far as execution from the O-line, the confusion of the O-line, and just the lack of execution and penalties, self-inflicted penalties. The O-line had to hear that for 2 straight weeks, how trash they were looking. And they said it in their interviews, and you could tell they came out against Purdue on fire. And Ryan Day and the play calling, we start doing some things that we weren't necessarily doing as much in previous games. Attacking the edges more with the wide receivers, especially against Sparty as well. So there was sort of a fire lit under them after the 2 shaky performances against Penn State and Nebraska that, in my opinion, started with the O-line. The O-line was not playing up to snuff, right? Nebraska and Penn State had good defenses, solid defenses. But I'm saying it starts with the O-line. When they started firing off the ball more, when they started, knowing their assignments more and cutting down on the penalties, then we were able to be more effective with CJ Stroud and the offense and tempo and being able to move and attack, obviously. So this team is starting to really ascend and take off, man. And it's not going to stop this Saturday. It's not going to stop this Saturday. And don't forget, and I posted this meme that actually did quite well on Twitter, man. The meme with the Ryan Day laser eyes, and posted the ESPN article from last year, where Ryan Day, where Harbaugh tried to call him out for some goofy rules violation of, practicing too much on a Friday or something goofy. I got to go back and read it. It was contested. Some Ohio State officials are basically debunked it, but he called him out on the teleconference. If y'all don't know the story, and Ryan Day just said, "Won't you just worry about your team and I worry about mine?" But behind the scenes, the word is that Ryan Day told his team in the huddle that we're going to drop 100 on them, like basically going off. But of course, the game was canceled. So fast forward, here we are. In the meme I posted, the caption just simply say, "Ryan Day has not forgotten." And what people just tend to forget, Ryan Day is a killer. Listen, when he was first hired, Chip Kelly was interviewed by ESPN. It was before a bowl game. They were out like on a little desk with the field behind them. A bunch of Herbie, Chip, a few others were out there talking. And Chip Kelly was saying, listen, Ryan Day is as competitive of a guy as I've ever met. Like, just talking about how intense he was in front of the camera. Ryan Day is very nice, very, cordial, very diplomatic at times. You know what I mean? Like, but behind the scenes, the dude is a fiery killer. All right. Remember the video McCall leaked with his goofy butt that he leaked? I think it was before when we found out we were playing Clemson or something. I forget. It was in the locker room. And yes, it was after the Northwestern game, I believe. And I think we're going to play Clemson. So did you hear how he was going off? Like, he was going in. Like, the dude is an intense, fiery competitor. My point is don't underestimate the motivation that Ryan Day still has from that, mixed with the fact that he's still just a great game game planner and schematic dude. The dude is really, really smart. Okay. You see what we did against Clemson last year, employing the tight ends. He's going to have some wrinkles that we have not seen, and we have the weapons to just exploit and execute. So with that said, let me get to CJ Stroud real quick. So just a quick rant about this boy CJ Stroud. And I've said from the beginning, I was excited about the kid when when I saw he was offered and looked him up and saw his film, his tape. And then, of course, the Elite 11, what he did out there, and how he was slicing cats up, just on in high school, and just showing this great velocity, accuracy, just looked very impressive as a passer. So, couple that with fast forward, you got guys like Chris Olave coming back partly, and actually he said a big reason is because of how well CJ Stroud threw the ball and how talented he was, which speaks volumes. And of course, he was the backup last year for Fields, at the end of the season. So I kind of knew he would most likely start. But excited to see that arm talent with all these weapons. However, first year starter, okay, having to go on the road at Minnesota, then Oregon. I knew it was going to be, some growing pains. And even if it was McCord or Miller that started, you still know there's going to be growing pains for a quarterback who's making their first start, who's never thrown a ball in a collegiate game. Like, we know this. That's just logically, that's just sensible, right? So my expectations were, I expect big things out of Stroud as he grows throughout the season. So I guess some fans didn't get that memo. So what I just really didn't like from the beginning of the season, I've said this a lot of times, is that people were ready to yank him, just off of mistakes, but just ignore all the great things he was doing and the potential and the really good things he was doing on the field. They would emphasize and be overly critical to the mistakes he made, not really considering that this is not a Justin Fields third-year starter. Nah, dude, this is a first-year starter. So there's going to be some give or take. Not to mention, against Oregon, for example, and I still got people on my page, and not just on my page, but on the internet, period, still blaming CJ Stroud for the Oregon game or pointing to his mistakes, his interception at the end after throwing for almost 500 yards when we abandoned the run and our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Pointing to him, well, man, if he wouldn't have threw that interception, or if he would have ran more. Nah, dude, the defense was garbage. That's why we lost to Oregon. We get more stops. We have more than enough offense or output from CJ Stroud, making his second start ever in a collegiate game to win that game. But I digress. But even to the day, you still got haters, and I say haters because that's who I'm talking about. Still to this day, digging their heels in, blaming CJ Stroud, and almost silently rooting against him. It's like a vibe. It's almost like, I'll show you, I'll prove you wrong. I want the Buckeyes to win, but man, it'll be sweet if CJ Stroud fails. It's like, show some humility, man. There's been a lot of people, actually, I give you credit, I salute you, who have humbled yourselves and said, you know what, I should have pumped the brakes on CJ Stroud a little bit. I was a little too critical and not considering all the factors in place. And you know what, I'm glad I was wrong. I salute you, man. That's humility. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's good to admit that you were wrong and you jumped the gun. But, I had some questions about Stroud early on too. I had some things that I wanted to see him improve. That's different than bench him or he's trash or he's a bum or whatever. Some of the comments, and I got the screenshots and receipts to prove it, that some of these Buckeye fans were making. So rant over, but this is a big game for CJ. We all know it's not even just about CJ. It doesn't matter what quarterback is in this position. This is the game. Everything you've done up to this point does not matter if you do not win this game, period. So he has to obviously get over this hump, win this game. If he does, listen, first of all, if Ohio State wins this game, which I believe they will, hear me out. We're going to win the national title. Yeah, I said it. We're going to win the national title if we win this game. Nobody's going to stop this team with how they're playing right now and how they're coaching right now. They're only going to get better. Some of these young guys that's playing, the more reps they get, the more better they're going to get. We don't need a top 10 defense to win a national title, y'all. We're ranked 44th right now in total defense. That's plenty good enough. Go look at the history of the national championship winners. Our offense, if we keep doing what we're doing and our offensive line keeps blocking like they're blocking and giving Stroud time, nobody is shutting this offense down. That includes Georgia. Matter of fact, just to on the record, I've wanted Georgia for years. I don't know why. maybe because I don't know. Like I got a bunch of friends down in Atlanta, and I don't know. Maybe that's I don't know. I just wanted to play Georgia, but I've wanted Georgia all year, especially this year. And I think college football, the nation wants to see Georgia versus Ohio State. But we got to win this game. We got to win this. We got to beat that team up north. And as long as we come in there focused and prepared, which I fully expect us to do, there's no evidence that we won't. And we execute and play our game and be physical, we're going to beat them. And I would not be surprised if we beat them soundly again. Could it be close? Sure, it's a rivalry game. But I'm not going to be shocked if we blow them out. I think we're just that much better. We just have to come to play and focus and not make goofy mistakes. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. It's just what it is. And 90s PTSD to the side. That's just the reality of it. So I think that's pretty much it, really. No, actually, one more thing. I mentioned Tyreek Smith as someone who's not being mentioned enough. On the offensive side of the ball, watching all the breakdown videos, all the analysis, this young man is mentioned sort of in passing, but not nearly enough, and that's Travion Henderson. He's not being mentioned enough. Michigan teams have run the ball against them. Like, I know, like, oh, Michigan has a great defense, and they do have a really good defense, but they've been run on. They can be ran on, y'all. And if they overemphasize the pass, Ryan Day is going to run the ball. CJ Stroud is going to make checks at the line. Ryan Day and CJ have both confirmed he has the liberty to do it. I know some have wondered, like, sometimes they look over to the sideline, yes, but CJ has also made calls and checks at the line himself into runs, into successful plays. So we're going to run the ball. And I wouldn't be surprised if Henderson has a really big day because of the overemphasis against the pass. So I don't think he's being talked about quite enough. So at the end of the day, Ohio State would just have too many weapons. They'll have too many weapons. I believe our defense, this is a good matchup for our D. They're going to make some plays. Michigan is. They're going to make some plays. They are, because our defense is not the 85 Bears. But I do believe our D will make some key stops and won't allow them to consistently have 3rd and 1. I think we're going to put them in some 3rd and long situations. And can McNamara convert 3rd and long passes? He hasn't been doing that all year. It's been mostly 3rd and short. So I can't wait. I'm fired up, and I'm sure y'all are. But again, happy Thanksgiving. Hope y'all have a good weekend. Let's get this dub and go Bucks. Beat that team up north. Peace.